we've got Dave from BMW here. I am so excited to have you here. BMW is one of my favorite brands. I think I like all car companies. I mean, let's just be honest. I'm a car guy.
Sure, I understand. Me too.
But I've yearned for, wanted, sought after an M3 since before I got my license. I've driven many of them, never gotten one. Now I have to adjust my focus to I want an M4. There's a beautiful M3 in my building that I threaten to steal all the time because it never moves. It's white.
Oh, it never moves. No, that's just wrong because an M3 is made to be driven.
And it's got the carbon fiber roof.
Oh, well, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But the M3 is still around, so don't disparage.
Well, no, I know,
but
but
now it's a sedan. Yeah.
It's a sedan now. But I want the coupe.
Right.
That's what I want. So I want an M4.
Okay.
Talk about the evolution of the M3. The M3, I guess the early 80s, the M3 came out. It had huge wide fenders on a 3 Series.
Right.
And a much bigger engine.
Well, actually, not really.
Not in the beginning. It wasn't a much bigger engine.
No, but the cool story about the M3, and it really is a testament to who BMW is as a company, but we wanted a car to compete in the German touring car championship that was going on back in the mid-'80s. And so what the company did, BMW Motorsport, looked at what they could do. So they started with the 3 Series and looked at basically modifying it. But we had to sell a certain number. I think we had to sell 5,000 M3s in order to call it a quote-unquote production car. And so the M3 that you see on the street basically is a race car in drag. I mean, it existed originally in order to have a platform for us to go racing.
That's unbelievable story. I didn't realize that. There's a lot of stories about other car companies starting as car companies because they had to make production models to race. Yeah. But I didn't realize that for BMW, the M Series started there. That's terrific. Yeah. I really love the M Series. I love how it's grown. You could basically do the M Series in anything. You got the M6, which is unbelievable. You've got of course, you've got the M5.
Right.
You have that here at the show, right?
We do. Yes.
Yeah. Talk about the M5.
We have the M3 and the M4 as well. And actually, we're showing at the New York Auto Show also the new BMW X5M and X6M, which are M versions of our X5 and X6 sports activity vehicles, which are really cool.
And you've got the 1 Series in the M as well.
Oh, not anymore. Not anymore.
It killed that?
Well, not for us here in the U.S., although we do have the M235i, which is an M performance automobile, not a full M series car, but modified by M. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
And all right, so this is a big year for BMW, though, in the United States.
It's a big year for BMW in the United States, absolutely. This is we're celebrating here. The New York Auto Show is sort of our home show here in the United States, since our headquarters is across the river in Woodcliff Lake, New Jersey. And so 40 years ago in March of 1975, BMW of North America, as a subsidiary of BMW, started operation. That same month, BMW Motorsport took a 3.0 CSL race car to the 12 Hours of Sebring and won.
Wow.
And in fact, that car is here at the show, the car that won that 12 Hours of Sebring back in 1975.
Is that a white car with blue and orange on the paint job?
It's the BMW Motorsport stripes that we all know today, which are the red, blue, and violet striping that you see on all the M logos now, started with that CSL back in 1975.
I almost bought a used 635 CSI once. I kind of almost regret not doing it. That was a great car.
Yes.
There's so many great cars. I've driven so many BMWs over the years and loved every one of them.
Right.
The only car that has eluded me as far as driving, I'd love to drive a 2002. I just think it'd be fun just to kind of drive around.
Yes.
You remember when that car was new.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that was the car that really put BMW on the map here in the United States. In fact, there's a very famous article that appeared in Car and Driver magazine, written by the editor then, the late David E. Davis Jr., sort of an icon in the automotive journalist world. And he wrote an article that the title was, "Please Turn Your Hymnals to Hymn 2002." And that sort of put BMW on the map in the United States as a car that was really something different and something special.
And the interesting thing is, like, we think of BMW as a luxury brand. We think of BMW as a luxury car company. When we look back at the technology and the luxury of the day, it wasn't luxurious. I mean, it was for the day.
Right.
But when we look back at it now, crank windows, manual door locks, all these things, that we now take for granted.
Right.
You know, it's amazing. Obviously, no navigation, no CD player. Probably it probably was 8-track.
Yeah, probably
was
back
an option,
then.
probably.
An option for 8-track back then, sure. But think about it back then. You know, the late '60s. You know, everybody was big into muscle cars. You know, big, lots of horsepower. So here comes this little, you know, 4-seat, 2-door sedan with a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. Ooh, and yet but it drove like nothing else out there, and it made people realize that, you know, I can have a car that's roomy. And I can have a car that is still a kick to drive without having to be this big, you know, muscle monster car.
The BMW club has a lot of members, a lot of great people in it. But 2002 is like its own sect almost of the. They have like their own club within the BMW club.
There are a few sort of, you know, clubs within the club, if you will.
Yeah.
But at their core, you know, they're all still BMW loyalists, and that's one of the things that's been great for us. I mean, the BMW Car Club of America now has something like 70,000 members across the United States.
That's very impressive.
Which, yeah, and they're you know, loyal to the brand, and when you see how far the company has come in the last 40 years and things that we're doing now that you couldn't even imagine 40 years ago.
I want to talk about the Alpina cars for a minute, and then I want to talk about safety. Tell me about the Alpina cars. They're something special. Only available in the 7 Series. Is that correct?
No. In fact, well, Alpina is a very special company unto itself, and that's another anniversary that we're celebrating here at the New York Auto Show, because 50 years ago, Alpina was founded as a company, and they started out doing performance modifications and race modifications of BMW cars. In fact, we have here one of their 2002 Ti race cars from BMW Alpina from back in, I think it's 1970, the car that we have here. And so 50 years later, they still do bespoke, modified, engineered versions of BMW models. The 2 that we sell in the United States are the B7, which is based on the 7 Series sedan, but we also have, and it's being shown here this year in an updated, modified form, which is exciting, the BMW B6 Grand Coupe, which is based on our 4-door 6 Series. And so the new updated version of that car, it's only been out for a year, and we're already updating it. But the folks at Alpina, now 600 horsepower, nearly 600 pounds-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, top speed of about 200 miles an hour.
I want to get behind the wheel of that.
It's really exciting. And yet, you know, a beautiful luxury car that has all of the amenities that you would expect and technology.
One of the most sophisticated transmissions in BMW, especially when you're talking about paddle shifting and stuff, which helps that 0 to 60 time.
Right. Well, they modified. Well, the car uses an 8-speed automatic, which Alpina modifies, so it gives much quicker shifting to help get to that 0 to 60 time of 3.6 seconds. But also can handle the torque of that engine, nearly 600 pounds-feet of torque, which is a lot.
Yes.
And yet, a perfectly civilized car that you can drive around town here in New York all day.
That's what I love.
It doesn't mind a bit.
That's what I love in this area. First of all, it's almost like a sleeper.
Yes.
Second of all, you can cruise in traffic. You're comfortable, and then you find an opening, and you can just hammer it. You can put your foot to the floor, and people who have driven BMWs know there's that little notch you can push past, and you know. I mean, that's what's great.
But they're a small company, so they only make about 1,700, 1,800 cars a year for worldwide consumption. So if you're driving a BMW Alpina, it's really something exclusive and special.
Yes, absolutely. The i8. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm in love with this car.
Yeah.
I think this car is literally beautiful. I love what it's doing. I love the technology. Talk a little bit about. First of all, the doors, I mean, are unbelievable.
Right.
I feel like if Back to the Future was made today, this would be the car.
It might well be. I mean, it's so, you know, if I may be so bold as a guy who works for the company, but it's so groundbreaking on so many levels. Yeah. You know, it's obviously it's a stunning looking car. You know, the aerodynamics, you know, lend it a certain beauty while being very, very functional. And we could have made, you know, we could have made a great looking car. We could have made a fast car, you know, 0 to 60 in about 4 seconds, no slouch. But the fact that it's a plug-in hybrid that uses a 1.5-liter twin-power turbo 3-cylinder gasoline engine working in concert with an electric motor. So in addition to 0 to 60 about 4 seconds, 155 mile an hour top speed. The thing will also deliver about 75 miles per gallon.
That's amazing.
Right.
Basically, a 3-cylinder is basically like you took a weed whacker engine and put it in the car.
No,
I don't know that I would say that. I mean, it's got horsepower. That's not what I'm saying.
Yes.
But it basically is using like this much fuel.
Well, and that's the key. I mean, we wanted a car that you could really not have to apologize for. You know what I mean? And it's got the looks. And the great thing about this car is it's one of those cars when you're out on the street, everybody loves the car.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody dislikes the car. Nobody resents the car. You have to build in an extra 10 minutes just because every time you get out of the car, people are going to crowd around and ask you questions.
Which is fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So BMW has not only made its name in luxury and performance, but in my mind, safety. And safety is part of performance, I guess.
It absolutely is. We've been a long believer of that. A car that accelerates quickly is safer. A car that stops well obviously is safer. A car that can handle well means that you can steer it in an evasive or emergency action and the car responds predictably, which makes it safer. So all that stuff counts.
But talk about some of the new safety features. We've seen a lot of them in commercials, talking about being in the i8 or the 7 Series and now showing up in the 3 Series.
Sure.
And I think that some of these features are really groundbreaking.
Sure. Well, modern anti-lock braking systems, let's start there. I mean, BMW has had anti-lock brakes as standard equipment on all its cars in the United States since 1986.
So I think this is something we take for granted now.
Yes.
I mean, every car has anti-lock brakes
Right.
now, right?
Right.
And yes, BMW was one of the first companies to introduce them in the United States, and that's great. But we don't even think about it anymore. I actually would tell you if you asked me, okay, they're anti-lock brakes. There's no difference at this point between this guy's anti-lock brakes and those guys, but there is a difference?
Well, there can be a big difference,
Yeah.
and the key thing is to have a system that reacts quickly and offers a lot of modulation, but also knowing how to use it. And that's one of the things that we do. I just came back from the BMW Teen Driving School at our BMW Performance Center in South Carolina. In fact, my daughter, who's just learning to drive, went through the program. And one of the things that they teach the kids in that school is how to properly apply ABS brakes. That you just want to stomp on the pedal as hard as you can. And they're telling the kids, hit it as hard as you can. You're not going to break it. You're not going to break it off. Hit that pedal hard. And they show that the cars can still steer and stop at the same time, which is what makes ABS so critically important for us. But in contrast to that, really modern traction control systems that will help to not only prevent the wheels from slipping, but to help you avoid accidents and help to recover from things like understeer and oversteer in certain situations, just making the cars much more predictable, much more controllable. But then aids like blind spot detection systems and lane departure warning systems that let you know when you're moving out of the lane.
And I like the heads-up displays and the
head-up display is another one that just the fact that you can get critical, not too much, but just the critical information, the stuff you need to know. It's right in your line of sight. You don't have to look down. Your eyes are on the road the whole time, which is exactly where you want them to be.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
it really is. And I think that you guys have done a remarkable job. One of the cars, I don't want to say cars because you have a couple cars like this. You've got the 3 Series GT, you've got the 5 Series GT.
Yes.
I like the GT a lot. It's a hatchback. I think it's starting to catch on. I think it's starting to make a comeback, the idea of a hatchback in America. I know that, in the late 70s, early 80s, they were big, and then they kind of fell off in the mid-80s through the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Wagons too. Why don't wagons and hatchbacks? Why haven't they sold well in the United States? And what's the turnaround? What's caused the turnaround?
Well, the why question is a really good one, and I don't have an answer to that one. But I think part of what's going on here is, through a good part of the '90s and into 2000s, SUVs became really popular with people, because they offered a fair bit of a high level of utility in addition to space and comfort for folks. But as people said, okay, well, I've done that and I want something different, and you want to migrate back to a car, but if you've had that utility, the space and the flexibility of being able to fold down the seats and throw a lot of stuff into the back of the car or the back of the SUV, to move back to a traditional four-door sedan might be kind of tough because you give up a lot of that space and utility and flexibility. Sure. And hatchbacks are a great way to get that back, to have your car and have your flexibility and extra utility too.
Right. That's why I like them.
Yes.
And I also love the idea of the sports activity vehicle, which is what you guys pioneered.
Yes, indeed.
And that's what you did with the X5 in 2000, which is a great vehicle and has spurred the X3. And you have the X6 now, which is
and now the X4.
And I didn't realize an X4.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And the X6 is really like kind of a almost like a sportier X5. It's kind of a hatchback SUV,
right?
Or
it's
SAV
more of a coupe sort of profile to it. So if you want the road holding and the all weather capability of something like an X5, but you want something with a little more style to it. You don't need all of the utility, say, of an X5, but you want something with that capability, but a little more style and panache to it. Then the X6 offers that opportunity, just like with the the X4 is sort of an alternative to the X3 and our smaller group of sports activity vehicles that you can do that too. And the cool thing is, of course, the X3, the X4, X5, X6, all made right here in the United States at our plant in Spartanburg, South Carolina, which is now actually BMW's largest plant in the world.
I love that. I also like the idea that you could go to Germany to pick up your car and then have a vacation, drive it around Germany, and have it shipped back.
Well, and you know what? We also have the BMW Performance Center right across the road from the plant in South Carolina. You can take delivery of your new BMW there as well and take advantage of one of our driver training programs while you're at it.
That's terrific.
Yes.
And that's really important.
Yes.
All the M-Series cars have cross-drilled rotors on their brakes?
Yes, they do.
I love that.
Compound cross-drilled rotors, you bet.
Excellent.
And now many of them are also offered with the option of carbon ceramic brakes, which also...
How important are carbon ceramic brakes? Do they make a big difference in stopping and the life of the brakes?
I think it depends on how you're using them. If you were using them on a track or something where they're getting hot and staying hot for long periods of time, yes, they are absolutely a benefit. For most driving situations, the M brakes that are on the cars already with compound cross-drilled rotors do a perfectly fine job.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I love the M4.
Cool.
Previously the M3 Coupe, and one day I would love to have one. Thank you so much for your time. I love all the BMW cars.
Yeah.
And thanks for taking the time to tell us all about what BMW
Absolutely.
got going on.
Come on by the show, the New York Auto Show. Check out and help us celebrate our anniversaries here.
Absolutely.
At the show.
And the show starts for the public April 3rd through the 12th. And it's an amazing show. It's very worth it. This is your live continuing coverage on BeTerrific of the New York International Auto Show 2015. We'll be here today, April 1st, and tomorrow, April 2nd. We have to thank Chris Sams and Devin and the whole team and the New York Auto Show for making that happen, and we're excited about that. We're going to take a quick break. Some of you guys will see commercials, some of you guys will see content, and we'll be back with a whole lot more right after this. Don't go anywhere, and don't forget, start connecting with us. Join the chat room at BeTerrific TV on Twitter and Instagram. Connect at BeTerrific.com on email. And, of course, my favorite way, the IRC chat. BeTerrific.com/live. Scroll under the live video player and join the IRC chat by creating a login. Communicate with us in real time and, of course, our other viewers. We'll be back right after this. Don't go anywhere.